Oh, you damn right. Let's go. Orange Bloods live on a Friday. Believe it or not, Jeff Ketchum got there. He's going to be a dad one more day. Ketch took the kids to the water park yesterday. He said he was going to take the last 2 days off of the week, and he's actually done it, at least for the show. There's plenty of content going on at orangebloods.com. And thanks to Ketch in advance for giving me a little something to talk about. So there's plenty of room for you guys in the chat. Jump on in with a super chat. Our man Christopher is in early with just a big hello. Somebody's watching from Orlando. What's up, Jimmy? Hope you're doing well. Look at Hookem. Look at Hookem doing the math. 5 weeks from tomorrow. You're absolutely right, Hookem. 36 days from kickoff is when I'm speaking right now. Cannot wait. Got Arch Manning stuff to get into. The president of the United States has entered a college sports discussion. Get into that a little bit. Plus, an interesting statement, apparently, a little interesting soapbox from Sark to high school coaches that popped into the war room last night. So all that's coming. Mark, what is up? Hope you're doing well. Everybody jump in the super chat and we will have ourselves a good time. Shout out to Texas Card House and Specs. You see those logos at the top all the time. You'll hear more about them as we go on. Feel free to jump in that Specs chat. All right, let's dig into this thing and let's start with Arch Manning. Again, shout out to Jeff Ketchum. I'm reading through the war room. I tell y'all all the time to go to the war room. And this is what I see from a source of Jeff Ketchum about Arch Manning and what the NFL is thinking. Check this out. I'll read through it with you. Owners, quote, owners' wives that don't even know the names of their own players are asking about him. I'm not kidding you. That has happened. It's going to be ridiculous when he does come out. They might have him stay back an extra year just to delay the change his life that will occur. The word on the street is that he doesn't want to be a grown-up yet. Hell, he hasn't started since high school. This isn't normal. Okay, let's go back over that. Owners' wives that don't know the name of their own players are talking about Arch Manning. Good grief. That's incredible stuff to read. I've been talking for so long now, for months, for a heck of a year or more, about how unique this thing is, about how you Longhorn fans are going to have to get ready for whatever this train is about to be. No one can prepare you for it because we just don't know. It's so specific. It's so once in a universe kind of a thing. And to hear something like that out of the NFL really gets me thinking about that next level. So that's why I structured the show today around, will he be able to resist? Will Arch Manning be able to resist? And by the way, Matt, you're right about this. This is what you really want if you're a Texas fan. Yes, he could technically stay 3, but we'll stay focused on the 2, right? We'll stay focused on the 2-year idea. Will he be able to resist the NFL? So just keeping those things in mind if you're a Longhorn fan. But you know what that comment made me realize? I hadn't been thinking about one aspect of this story, and it was New Orleans. I started thinking about it because I've heard somebody say it like, well, you know, what if the Saints are really bad? But there's another ingredient there. Raise your hands. Did anybody else know that Derek Carr retired? I totally forgot. Totally forgot that. He retired back in May because of prolonged injury. He's not their quarterback. So I searched Saints quarterback on my phone. Here's what popped up. Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, Hunter Deckers. Oh, wait, show one more. Let me do that. Show one more. Jake Haener. You know why the show one more is important? Because as of this week, I'm speaking to you on a Friday. This week, Haener has taken first-team reps for the New Orleans Saints. You heard that correctly. First-year head coach Kellen Moore has had first-team reps going to everybody. The fans, once Carr was gone, thought it was going to be a Shuck Rattler discussion. Now he's thrown Haener in there, and he's got fans online saying things like, well, why don't you give me some first-team reps if you're going to waste everybody's time? So that's all going on. So one of the many things to follow if you're a Longhorn fan this year, just to make sure Arch is back in 26, follow the Saints schedule. Just pay attention to it. They start with Arizona and San Francisco at home. Then they go on the road to Seattle. And then they go on the road to Buffalo in their 4th game. What happens if the New Orleans Saints are god awful next year? Now they're in a weird division. NFC South is always strange. I guess you'd say Baker Mayfield and the Bucs probably your favorite right now. But we'll see what happens. Can Carolina develop the young guy, and Jacksonville trying to get back to, with Trevor Lawrence and everything. But you'd think it's Tampa. What happens if the Saints are awful? I mean, unworldly awful. If they're terrible and they're going to get that first pick, you know what the conversation is going to be then. It's just going to be a whole other layer of Arch and Archie discussion. I think in a different way than if it was Indy where Peyton played or the Giants where Eli played. First off, think about those two teams. At least one of those teams, well, the Giants may have not figured out what they want. Maybe we should watch the Colts and Giants too, or maybe the Broncos. But I feel like those other three teams might have some things figured out a little bit more than the Saints. Just something to keep in mind. Jump on in the chat if you want. Big Cheddar says, I'm not too worried about Arch leaving after the season. His family has never been in a hurry to get to the NFL. I believe the family values starting experience in college. Big Cheddar, I'm totally with you there. Totally with you, and I hope that this ends up being true. So I started thinking about a couple different guys when it comes to Arch. Actually, there's a group of guys I think of, but I keep saying it's so specific, and it is. But the one thing that's also true is it happens one time for everybody. We all, right? We all get to go through this life once. Arch gets one shot at this. And he does have lessons he can learn from specifically one of his uncles. I always go back to those late 90s times when Peyton tried to decide, do I really want to come back? And he did. I can see him orchestrating Rocky Top with the band. That was one of his big moments. He wanted to come back. Ricky Williams was around that time for you Texas fans. If you're too young to remember it, Ricky gave one of the all-time great, like fake him out speech, but then say, I'm coming back for a senior year. And in the end, it was perfect for Ricky. Why? Because he loved college football way more than he ended up loving the NFL. He would admit that later. I also think of two other guys who, if they had to do it again, I'll bet you anything they would have come back for another year. Vince and Manziel. I think both of them would have if they had the shot. Vince has talked about it. I focused too much on the Texans making that pick. And if I had known how that might have played out, I may have just come back in 2006. Johnny Manziel has talked about similar things, although things were pretty crazy by the end of 2013. It's something that I think would have been, he probably looking back would have thought, you know what, let me do that instead of going to Cleveland for all this mess, for all this stuff. Look at Mark throwing in some mess. As a Dallas fan, we might be there too. We have a coach no one wanted and a quarterback who can't win versus good teams. Plus the Eagles. Okay. You know what, Mark? Let's not bring logical NFL stuff to this discussion. And maybe I've heard that discussion for 2 years from now. Would Jerry go crazy for Arch Manning? I don't know, but just keep the Saints in mind on that story. So the overall Arch thing today, again, 36 days from kick, and this thing really doesn't crank up until maybe practice will get started and you'll start to see some images of Arch throwing the ball, and that gets people excited. But obviously the game in Columbus is what really starts the train. And if you've already got people in the NFL talking like that, owners' wives talking about Arch Manning, like, come on. But I'm hoping, just like all you Longhorn fans are hoping, that Arch does exactly what Big Cheddar said. Trust the family. He's got 2 starts. 2. What's the number they like? 25. That's what we've heard. We've heard they like the idea of 25 starts or more in the NFL. Peyton can talk to him about that experience and what it means. Eli can talk to him about that experience and what it means. And I'm assuming even Archie from all the way back in his time can give him a sense for what that would be. And, I'm hoping he stays 2 years as well. But will he be able to resist it? If the pick is there and you've got the NFL set up and you have college football set up the way it is right now and the way it may be set up, man, I don't know. So I'll use that to transition into this executive order story coming up here in just a second. Let's start thanking some of our great partners as well. Let me see if I can make you hungry. I'll give you a couple ideas of some things you could do this weekend. If you want to go have a great meal, hey, Hayes City Store is a place to do it. Hayes City Store. This is one of the latest pictures of a combination that Travis sent me that I just adore. I love all 3 of these parts, man. I love that grilled pork chop. The onion rings are badass, and their Brussels sprouts are incredible. So I keep saying it with Hayes City Store. if you love something that feels like wonderful but basic, right? It's a pork chop, it's a burger, it's a pizza, it's a chicken fried steak, it's gravy, it's queso, chips and salsa. That stuff that we kind of take for granted sometimes. Hayes City Store just destroys those things, just knocks them out of the park. They're incredible versions of all of that. That is maybe the best damn pork chop that you could get this weekend. I can't think of a better one. I would send you to that one. That's why I'm putting this picture up. Go see them, FM 150 in Driftwood. Get your reservation ahead of time. That will help you at Hayes City Store. Tell Travis and Tamara you heard about it right here on Orange Bloods Live. All right, before I flash this other stuff up, oh, how about this? Sal, we're feeling for you, man. Sal's in the land of no air conditioners with 95. It's a little different for those people. See, Sal, sometimes they like to make fun of you New Yorkers for that stuff. We don't do that here, though. We know what you're dealing with because we have the air conditioning. We know it's going to be super hot. Some of y'all don't, and we feel for you. Hope y'all are doing all right in 95-degree weather. Money B says that chop looks good. Yeah, Money B. They have a blackened one, and they also have a chicken fried one. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Big Cheddar. Chad, you going solo today? I missed the first few minutes of the show. Yes, I am. I am going solo today. Catches being a dad. Anwar's got dad stuff to do today. Cody Carpentier was nice enough to jump in yesterday. Alex Dunlap is coming off of a vacation. Jason Sukamel's getting back from a vacation. I decided to let them all have a Friday, a face palm Friday, because I had enough to talk about. We'll start with Arch Manning, and now let's get to an executive order. Did y'all hear this story that came out yesterday? I'm not going to flash it all up for you, but the president of the United States put out an executive order on college sports. There's a couple elements of it I think is noteworthy to mention, and we'll kind of tie it in. Just think about if you're Arch Manning, right? You're thinking about Arch, and am I staying for another year? Really, you're any big-time player. Here's part of it that jumped out to me. Trump's order sets out specific guidelines for preserving athletic scholarships based on athletic departments' annual revenue. It also declares that schools should not permit athletes to accept, quote, third-party pay-for-play payments. The order states that Secretary of Education Linda McMahon should use future federal funding decisions, among other tools, to force schools to abide by the administration's policy. Okay, there are two parts of that jump out. Number one, I really thought when NIL came into be that the folks in charge, that the old folks, were really going to be able to get a grasp on that phrase they hate so much, pay to play. But they just can't. So moving forward, how we define pay for play is going to be wild. Personally, I don't know why else they'd be playing. Personally, I don't know what else you'd be paying for, but it really makes them uncomfortable. So we got to pay attention to that. You're going to say there is no pay for play, but wait, they just set up a revenue structure where they're letting the school pay the players. What do you think they're paying them for? They all have to get like a endorsement deal, right? Is that it? Oh, and the other phrase they love is fair market value. We'll figure out what that is. But let's put that to the side. Here's what that story tells us today. This is the world we live in now that I'm 50 years old and it's happened. I have lived long enough to see Donald Trump become the president of the United States twice, and Linda McMahon get into that position. That means, from strictly a pro wrestling fan's perspective, a guy that once had a hair match with Vince McMahon and a woman that once got tombstoned by Kane and at one point was in a trance while Vince made out with Trish Stratus, those two people might get to really figure out what happens with college sports. Okay, fair enough. But look, once you've been a part of a work, I have a tough time believing you can be a part of a shoot. That's just me because I'm a wrestling guy, but that's all right. So that part of it did jump out to me. Here's another part that jumps out to me. Keep it in mind when it comes to revenue and these schools. Thursday's executive order mandates that athletic departments that brought in more than $125 million during the last academic year must increase the number of scholarships they provide to athletes in non-revenue sports. Athletic departments that brought in at least $50 million cannot reduce the number of scholarships they offer in those sports. Again, we're talking non-revenue sports. So when I read that, what jumps out to me is, of course, the non-revenue part. But also, I'm assuming that means if okay, we would obviously, Texas is going to be one of those schools that makes over 125 million in revenue. If I'm Texas, you're telling me I have to increase scholarships in non-revenue sports. So this isn't about going from 85 to 105 in football. This is different than that. You're telling me I have to increase scholarships in non-revenue sports. Okay. But just once, right? I'm assuming this doesn't mean you have to keep doing it each year that you get that revenue. But it's also something that Texas and a lot of schools were planning to do. The story also says, I'll just read from this one, says overwhelming majority of schools in the Power Four reach the 50 million threshold. 30 to 40 schools have topped that 125 million mark. And they've all said that they're gonna, that they're going to do that. So this is a strange time, obviously, in college sports and college football, because some people claim that this is going to be really simple and everybody's going to understand how it works. And then some understand this is going to be a mess. So did this just create a mess with an executive order coming down? How much power does the executive order have? That's what they're trying to figure out. Apparently, there's an S word in this order, a lot, should. That apparently this order uses that S word a lot. So they don't know exactly how enforceable is it. Something similar to it apparently has gone through at least partway through the House. I don't know if it's all the way through the House yet, but then the idea would be, is Congress really going to do this? Coaches have been talking about Congress getting involved. Nick Saban talked about it before he got out, among other coaches, that they wanted something congressional. We want something that we can, really work with here. How is this going to affect things? And then ultimately, let's say he could do it, what would cause Donald Trump to tell Linda McMahon, you're just going to need to withhold funds from the schools? Huh? What? That's weird to me. That is a weird thought. I don't know how real that can be, but I don't know. I think there's something that could push him there. I'll get to that in a buy or sell coming up, but I just think it's something, obviously, we're all going to pay attention to this story and how it rolls out. But that happened yesterday. I'm talking to you on a Friday. This executive order comes out on a Thursday. And one of the things that gets talked about is the professionalization, is that the word, of the athletes. I think that's the biggest thing. As long as the government thinks these athletes are trying to be pros, that freaks them out and they've got to adjust. So we'll see. Oh, by the way, you want a good time frame? You want a good way to frame this in terms of the season? We're 36 days away as I'm talking to you from kickoff. Guess how long this order gives for everybody to get in line? 30 days. So when we get to game week, there might be some stuff, I don't know, floating out there with this story. We'll see. So there you go. We do have our first super chat of the day. Mark Cavazos, $5. You should have started that with, let me tell you something, brother. Thanks, Chad, for holding down the fort today. Thank you, Mark. And I do have a little thought on the three legends that died this week. What a wild week it was for celebrity deaths, and Hulk Hogan was the third. I'll get it. We'll have a little rant on that later. If you guys have any thoughts on any of those three guys that died this week, you can do that. But I'll get to some of that before we are done. Jump in the chat if you want. Throw in a super chat just like Mark did if you like. Mark, I appreciate you doing it. Also, we appreciate the good folks at Texas Card House. Texas Card House is your place. You want to go in and get some cards going in the state of Texas? Man, they got 6 great locations. That Spring location is the one closest to Catch. They've got Houston proper. They've got Dallas, Las Colinas, Rio Grande Valley, and of course, the Austin location right there on 183 near the aquarium where we did the watch parties last year. Go into any of them and mention Orange Bloods. You get the 1 month free club membership and 2 hours of free poker play. And that's all you have to do there. Now, if you don't have time to get on into Texas Card House today, get on over to hijackpoker.com. Put that app in anything you want, any device you want, and get to those virtual tables. You might find Jeff Ketchum or Alex Dunlap or a lot of our great fans there. Hijackpoker.com. Only thing you need to be is in the state of Texas. So Sal in New York City, where it's 95 today, is not able to get on Hijack Poker. You will not see him at one of those pokers today. That is the reason that we're here every day, because they sponsor the show. Thank you, Texas Card House, for sponsoring us each and every day. All right, so the overall discussion today, Eli Manning, Arch Manning, will he be able to resist the craziness of the NFL? You certainly hope so. But this far ahead, they are still, they're talking Arch. And I bring in this executive order thing just because I wonder about guys like Arch, about the next great quarterback, about, whoever it is, about the Diabells of the world, or who the next best, the badass linebacker 2 or 3 years from now. I certainly hope all the adults can just figure it out, get a structure in place and go. They've all been talking about guardrails, but they're deathly afraid of them. They're so scared of this, of the notion. They got to get rid of some of this language and explain some of these things to me. Well, it can't be pay for play. Why not? Why not? Why does any of it happen? Why does Caitlin Clark play for the Indiana Fever? Love? No. She plays because they pay her. And I get that scares you when you're an old person in college sports, because that means they're a professional athlete. But you got to figure out a way to deal with that and live with that, because there's a lot of stuff now on top of the table. I don't know how you take it back. I don't know how you take back what has already begun since 2021. I have no decision. No decision. I don't know what else to say. Text guy, Arch decision affected by how UT does this year. I don't know, text guy. That's another ingredient to add, because I keep thinking about the bar, right? You guys as Texas fans, you would tell me the bar is not just making the playoffs, right? They may be preseason number 1. Like, at worst, they'll be what, 3? If you wanted to get weird, I guess you could make Texas 3 in the country. I'd make them 1 or 2. But they're picked to win the SEC. So getting back to the semifinals feels like certainly a bar. What if they get to the title game? You could say, well, if they got to the title game and lost it, there'd be something to come back for or whatever. But the biggest question has been, what if they make a run to the national title game and they win it? And then I'll just throw in the ingredient from earlier. And the New Orleans Saints are terrible. And they get the first pick in the draft. What if all of that happened? That's not that crazy to think of. That college team is picked to win the SEC. Anybody that's picked to win the SEC at the beginning of the year, that's a national title contender. So that's not stupid to say. And the chances of the Saints being really bad, I just told you what they're doing at quarterback. And they're in a division, even if their division doesn't devour them, they're in the NFC. Plus, I told you they're playing at Buffalo. So they got a tough year going. So I don't know. Text guy adds on, if they win the Natty and he gets the Heisman, why come back after that? Okay, let's pile that on too, right? Let's have the real conversation. Win the Natty, go to New York, win the Heisman. All of it's there. That's not a decision, obviously, that Peyton had to make. Peyton never won the Natty. Peyton didn't win the Heisman. He was a finalist, I believe, but I don't think he won it. Yeah, he'd have to decide. And I think it'd be awesome if he did all that and then said, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Come on. Has anybody ever won back-to-back Heismans? Anybody ever got oh, yeah, he did? Really? Archie who? Oh, yeah, okay. I'll try it again. Let's do it again. Let's run it back. I dig Austin. It's cool. The best part of it, text guy and all you Longhorn fans, you're in this time where he's not being pulled for money for all kinds of reasons. We've gone over all this stuff, but even with whatever's about to happen, with all the structure, all the money and everything, Texas is going to be able to offer him something. Texas is going to be able to say, hey, you stay here. You can continue to build. But most importantly, it's those starting reps in college at SEC, SEC venues that will help him once he gets to the NFL. The other thing is, it'll be a damn shame. It will be an intergalactic damn shame if we miss out on Texas at Ole Miss with Arch at quarterback. I'm just going to say that. It'll be a shame. It'll be a shame, a crying shame if that happens. If you guys want to jump in on the chat, throw in a super chat, please do. And another reminder, upper left-hand corner is your QR code. I'm going to get you something else from the war room that came from Alex's section that really blew my mind. A little recruiting thing from Sark, kind of wild. Inside story that came from a high school coach. We're going to get to that. Go up there and click on the QR code. and get signed up for orangebloods.com. 36 days from kick. It is the best message board out there. It is the largest fan site out there. It is the oldest, best. We lay all the stuff out there. The content is incredible. And remember, coming up in a 10 thoughts from the weekend from Catch, his top 10 Ozzy list is coming. And I can't wait to read through that one. His Metallica list did freak me out years ago. I don't even know what this Ozzy list is going to be. That's either this week or next week on Sunday in Catch's 10 Thoughts from the Weekend. So get to orangebloods.com for all kinds of great content. Sandman's got a prediction, calling it now. Texas will be at Ole Miss, LSU, and Tennessee the next 2 years. Yeah. Sandman, I agree with you. I think if they just want to lean hard, all they have to do is go at Ole Miss, at Tennessee, do both of them next year. Like, do both of them in 2026. But I think minimum the Grove. You could do Tennessee as a home game and then flip it. And then that way it's not as important. I think it's more important for him to go to the Grove for the Archie stuff. And then you can mix the Eli stuff in too. You get 2 for 1 versus the Peyton stuff. But I'd love to see both. I would love to see both on them. And this says, well, they'll be on the schedule. They won't play at those venues for 2 consecutive years. Yeah, not 2 consecutive, right? You're right about that. It'll just depend on how they set it up. Again, something else we don't know, to be fair. Sandman, thank you for bringing that. When are we going to find that out? When is it during the season? Is it going to be after the season, early spring? We still don't know how many conference games, and we do not know how it's all going to play out. Technically, we don't know if Texas is playing Oklahoma A&M or Arkansas next year. Technically, we don't know that. We think they are, but, you know. And then, Sandman, I agree with you. Arch and Death Valley would be damn good. That'd be cool, obviously, because you got the Louisiana pull too. That'd be awesome. Especially if Texas could figure out a way to get that win. It'd be crazy. Texas versus Tennessee is a natural rivalry for so many reasons. Yeah, that's a good one. I've said they need to play for that UT logo. They need to find a logo because they both kind of use that interlocking UT at times. And they need to have it like literally play for like a contract that says you can't use that logo for a year. Only the winner gets to use that logo for the year. That'd be fun. I think that's what they need to do. That's just me. All right. Let's thank another one of our great partners. I wish Catch was here to tell you about him, but you know how much he loves Rogue Shop. You have seen Catch partake of Rogue Shop on this show. And maybe you're into the kind of Rogue Shop Catch is into. Or maybe we've never seen Catches with a gummy, I don't think, on the show. That'd be more my route, the gummies. I've heard they have a Skittles-like product. Oh, mercy. Talk about enjoy responsibly. Man. Apparently they have like hot chocolate, stuff like that, candies and things. They got stuff for your pets. They've got the salve that, Catch talks about his family members use, that kind of stuff too. There's just so many different ideas out there, so many different paths you can take at Rogue Shop. Get on that website, and like Catch has talked about, there's a little questionnaire right at the beginning of what you're looking for so they can kind of help you navigate through it. They are Texas's home for legal CBD, THC, and more. Check them out, Rogue Shop and rogueshop.com. All right, if you want to jump in on the chat, feel free. Get me a super chat. Let me get you this other War Room note so we can get it all out there. Shout out to Alex Dunlap for this one. War Room, as always, it's good this week, just like it's good every week. But check this one out. This is from Alex's section regarding a high school coach that reached out to him about Sark. This is Sark speaking at a high school coaches convention. Check it out. Quote, he started his talk telling the high school coaches not to just throw up their hands and allow agents and others to make all the decisions for your players. He gave praise to UTSA, A&M, TCU, Houston, and Tech, and told coaches, Texas kids are in the best hands if they stay in Texas. He doesn't care where they go, just to stay in Texas. The key comment to me is that he said a couple weeks ago, they called a recruits coach to see where his kid was going, and the high school coach told Sark he really didn't know. Sark, you can tell he was frustrated, and I think that's all Ojo. And that's just a funny comment to me. He's speaking now about attitude and stuff, but it was very interesting that he got on his soapbox, what he said, and told the high school coaches to keep the kids in Texas. That's really interesting. So before I take this down, just note those schools: UTSA, A&M, TCU, Houston, Tech. Okay. The omissions there would be Baylor. So you got TCU. Didn't mention SMU. Maybe he was just rattling things off. It is noteworthy that he mentions the school that Ojo is committed to. So keep all that in mind as I discuss this a little bit. And if y'all want to jump in, you feel free. So years ago, when I worked with, I say years ago, it wasn't that long ago. I'm not that old, but years ago when I worked with Rod Babers, former Texas player, of course, legend, broadcasting legend as well. Shout out Rod B. Rod would talk about his time getting recruited by Mack Brown and R.C. Slocum. And he talked about how those two coaches at the time were really set on this idea. Keep guys in state. If we can't have you, we'd rather you stay in state than go somewhere else. And Rod would always describe it as like really fortifying the borders of Texas or whatever. A lot of things have changed. Travel stuff changes. The technology changes things. Power 4 stuff is all different now. But I read that comment from Sark and I wonder what caused him to do that. So obviously, if he called a coach and said, "Hey, where's your kid going?" I don't know. I get how he would get on a soapbox and say, "Hey, get involved with your kids. Make sure you're checking in with those big time players. Even, hey, the 3 and 4 stars too, whatever. Make sure you're checking in with them and give them your thoughts as well." He didn't just do that though. For him to say, keep them in the state of Texas. So here's my extra layer. I wonder if Sark deep down is saying to these guys, look, we want all the big dogs, but if we can't have them, could y'all just kind of help us not have them end up in Eugene, Athens, Columbus, and Tuscaloosa? Oh, and maybe South Bend. Can you just help with maybe that part? Is Sark, Ann Arbor, is Sark thinking globally here because he knows he's a Final Four kind of team? And let's face it, those teams he listed are not. That's not what those teams are. Let's check the list again. UTSA, A&M, TCU, Houston, and Tech. He didn't put SMU in there, a playoff team, but he did put those teams in. He put Tech and A&M in. He put the school Ojo's committed to in there, which makes me think that might not have been about Ojo. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm reaching a little too much, but I love that Orange Bloods gets those kind of quotes and comments, a little inside look at the coaches convention. By the way, I also love that Sark shows up to a coaches convention with a soapbox. I love that idea because, those kind of events where you got college coaches holding court to all these high school coaches that are so important to them, that is a noteworthy moment for them because it's his chance to sort of dictate what does he want these coaches thinking about. And I wonder what that was. Like if Richie Wesley hadn't flipped back to him and had been and stayed at Oregon, is he thinking about like a lineman is he thinking about, he can't be thinking about Malachi Lee because the kid's from Hawaii, but is he thinking about some Texas kid that is going to a non-Texas school? Because think about it. The Texas kids that he wants KJ Edwards out of Carthage. Well, he's committed to A&M. He mentioned A&M. He wanted Ojo. Ojo's committed to Tech. Zayden Crimpin. Let's say he really wants Zayden Crimpin deep down. Okay, he's committed to A&M. So if he was focused on those guys, he would have just said, hey, check in with your guys, man. Make sure they're going where they need to go. But it's wild to me that there's still that thought out there about staying in the state of Texas. And I do wonder if Sark is thinking on that, that deep a level about, hey, there's nobody playing in the state of Texas that challenges us right now. So if you have a guy that you don't know where he's going, check in with him and, hey, keep him in state. Keep him in state. Better for everybody. And deep down, he's thinking, better for us. Better for us. Ends up in Eugene, we might have to deal with him later. Ends up in Columbus, we might have to deal with him later. We don't play. Think about it. Sark does not play every school he named except A&M. Doesn't play any of them. Unless they've scheduled, maybe UTSA comes up on the schedule at some point, right? It's maybe on that. Tech's not going to be scheduled. Houston's not going to be scheduled. What was the other one? TCU. TCU's not going to be scheduled. You'd have to see him in a bowl or a playoff. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird story. Blake, maybe. Yeah. DeCorian Moore still hurt from last year. I'm glad you brought him up. I thought of him. I thought of DeCorian Moore. Is it still that? Is it still those kind of feelings? Is it still, a guy like Evan Stewart started to stay in Texas and then didn't work? Like Walter Nolan started to stay in Texas, but eventually it got away. Maybe that's different to him. Maybe if we asked him about the Jimbo A&M stuff, he would say, "Oh, that's separate because the class fell apart and Jimbo and whatever." But I don't know. Yeah, don't know. Blake says we can make an exception for North Shore. They can go out of state or to A&M. Yeah, that North Shore thing took an interesting turn with Mr. Calicut, didn't it? That's kind of weird. So once again, check out Orange Bloods. Check out that War Room because it is incredible. Incredible stuff always, but thought that was kind of cool with Sark and some of his comments. So if you have any thoughts on it, you can jump into the chat, get that super chat sent, and I will get to those as well. Real quick, let's hear from Specs. There are over, there are 460 of you right there in that Specs chat. Remember to get all stocked up this summer.
This summer, when the sun scorches and sanity is one sweat beat away from collapse, a hero rises. Specs, your cathedral of cold cans, your oasis of cool.
Your oasis of cool. Yes, indeed. All right. If you want to throw in S-Rone, it's okay. No problem. So don't worry. Don't worry. You can always go back and check it out. Rolling solo today. No catch. All the guys are busy today being dads. Catch took his kids to the water park yesterday. Hopefully that went well. So just getting a little bit of Arch Manning talk in, a little college football talk, and then we'll roll out of here. But I also have an all buy or sell coming up. I'm buying every one of them. Y'all can do whatever you want. That comes up a little bit later on in the show. We will get that to you. And up next, I will talk about all those three that left us this week once we wrap up the football stuff. Let me also remind you, as football gets closer, about AV consultations. We talk about them. You hear the videos. You see the stuff with Tom and Camilla talking about it. They can set you up with whatever you need. The TVs, the speakers, the screens, multiple screens. Are you like me and you're into 4 games at once, NFL Sunday Ticket, that kind of stuff? I talk to people all the time that love YouTube TV, not only for Sunday Ticket, but you can do multi-box stuff with college football. I know I got a buddy that does multi-box stuff on news. He'll be following like a news story, and he literally puts 4 boxes up to watch how it's covered, and he goes to the screen that he goes to the screen as they're covering things. However you do it, AV Consultations can make sure you're set up the right way. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. They'll get you all set up for the season. Speaking of the season, I said 36 days away. It is just incredible how close we are. And again, for me, this Arch Manning thing, when it takes off, when it hits, when it goes from just being a what if and it goes to actual footage, oh my God. Think about whatever happens, Texas and Ohio State. Think about how much that footage is going to get shown on ESPN the next week. First Take and McAfee and all these things. It's going to get going so quickly. Super chat came in from S-Rone. I appreciate it, S-Rone, $5. I want to get excited about Arch, but that O-line concerns me. S-Rone, I wouldn't let that overly concern you. Now, you're starting in Columbus, so I get it. But I think Arch can help out some of that. Hopefully the running backs obviously can help out some of that. But I get your concern. You can't lose a guy like that. You can't have Kelvin Banks go to the NFL and not have some concern. So, yeah, it is warranted, certainly. And that's going to be a big part of what happens in 36 days. Do they hold up? But hey, S. Roan, what happens if they do? What if they do? Think about what September is going to feel like if they pull that off. I was double checking stuff today. I was getting something together for like a post in a couple weeks about road records. Do y'all realize Texas has won 11 road games in a row? 11 in a row. It's 9-0 over the last 2 years. So far, going back through the history of Texas football, I've only found 2 road streaks that are longer than that. So they're riding an 11, man. Who says they can't get to 12? But that O-line is going to be a big part. Huge test right away. I think you've at least seen enough to feel all right, but it's going to take that game to show us how you really need to feel about it. And yeah, I get it. Neto, Hudson, questions about that. Mark brings up another issue. Mark, we're going to need to see it, right? In Columbus, big time atmosphere. Good news, early atmosphere. It's not a night game. So what do you want when you have a big game on the road? You want it to be an 11 a.m. kick. Fox is helping you there, not helping us as fans. We don't like to I'd rather have all day to pump and get ready, and then you go, because I'm a huge fan of night games. But when you're that road team, you want what Texas got in Fayetteville last year. You want it to be a little sleepy because nobody can truly get up the same way for an 11 that they get up for other games. So hopefully you get in there and you got something for Ohio State early, punch them in the mouth a little bit. And yes, Mark, red zone. How many field goals? Like, how quickly do we get introduced to the dude from Texas State? Or is it just about him kicking extra points because Texas gets in the end zone? That has to change, obviously. Has to change. Or they just need to start blowing people out in semifinals because the same thing has hit them 2 years in a row, obviously. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's Hunter. Yep. Hunter's dead on here. If they repeat something like what they did in Tuscaloosa a couple years ago, I will be all aboard the Natty train. That'll do it, Hunter? Yeah? A couple of bombs completed late in the game on the road. You need to shut the door with 7.5 minutes to go. And then you just do. Hammer, meet, nail. 10-point win on the road. That would do it? That should. That's it. And that's why I keep talking about what happens that day and then what does September feel like. You guys are going to feel something in September. And man, if Hunter gets what he wants, that September is just going to be, you're going to have to contain yourself in a way you've never even thought about. You're just going to have to calm yourself, contain. You're going to have people trying to buy national championship tickets like in September. It's going to be wild if they get that done. Unbelievable. Esrone back in. I'm actually glad. I prefer earlier games. If Texas wins, I can enjoy the rest of the day. That is fun. I like that. That's cool for us too. Covering games, following games, you kind of get the rest of the day to chill out. I do enjoy that. All right, if you have more football thoughts, I will certainly take those. Before we wrap, you know what? We'll get a little buy or sell in here. And I see that one. Oh, I like that question too. We'll get that recruiting question in as well. I'll throw out some all buy or sell, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So my number one is Arch will stay 2 more seasons. Again, I'm buying them all. I'm buying all of them. I'm buying into the Manning family stuff. I'm buying into 25 starts and all of it. And I'm buying into the idea. Remember, it was the Manning family that stared right into the horrible team at the top of a draft and said, nope, that's not what we're doing. Now, to be fair, that team was the Chargers and not the Saints, but still, I think they'll be able to resist. I hope. Here's the second one for you. Buy or sell number 2. The government will only really get involved if the players form a union. I think this is a buy. That is their biggest concern for some reason. They hate the idea of them being employees. They hate the idea of them being pros. And if they try to unionize as a group, that will freak the government out. That will freak Congress and the president. Everybody will freak out. Linda McMahon, they'll all freak out. But I think if they can stay away from that, they might be able to actually put together a little Wild West here and figure it out. But please, somebody figure out these guardrails. My God. All right, buy or sell. Number 3 is for you Cowboys fans. I was super nervous interviewing Bob Lilly. That is a buy. Bob Lilly is tomorrow going to turn 86 years old. Happy birthday to Mr. Cowboy tomorrow. Got a chance to interview him years ago on the radio when he was putting out a book of photographs, because he became a photographer while he was a player. So he ended up with these incredible pictures from locker rooms and game sites and everything like that. And all I can say is I'm just glad he wasn't live in studio, because I don't know if I could have handled meeting Bob Lilly face to face, but I was so nervous even though it was on the phone. Happy birthday to Bob Lilly tomorrow. Here's another birthday coming tomorrow. Buy or sell. Number 4, Mick Jagger is the greatest frontman you have ever seen live. Buy. I've seen a lot of them. Nobody's better than Mick. He is in a class all by himself from the ones I've seen. Last time I saw him, he was 71, and he was still a badass. Tomorrow, Mick will turn 82. Shout out to the great Mick Jagger. Mick on top of the stage. It was like a 15-story stage or whatever it was. Mick on top of the stage in 94 Voodoo Lounge tour when it was pouring rain and they played Sympathy for the Devil. It's still one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And Mick was larger than life. One more birthday in the buy or sells. Buy or sell number 5, prime on prime. I'll put Kate Beckinsale up against just about anybody in a beautiful woman discussion. It's an absolute buy. She turns 52 tomorrow, and she is so pretty to me. Just one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in the world. Happy birthday to her as well. By the way, sidebars, also happy birthday tomorrow to Sandra Bullock, one of Texas's own. Was she born? I don't know if she was born in Texas or just got here quick, but I always think of her as like an Austin girl, Texas girl. Love Sandra Bullock. She'll be 61 tomorrow. And the late, great Walter Payton would have been 72 years old today. He's one of my favorite running backs of all time. Sweetness in his prime was something to behold. And it is crazy to think about him being 72 years old. He died all the way back in 99. But kids, Walter Payton, oh my God, just a whole nother chapter. Just incredible. All right, let me get this buy or sell marked. Oh, see, don't do this. Don't do it, Jose. Don't do it. He's a New Orleans Saint. I'm manifesting this. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it unless you're doing it 2 years from now. Don't do that. All right, let's get to Paul. We got a super chat in. $4.99. Any chance you can get Brian on the show before the season starts? Would love to hear some training camp stories. Paul, as far as Brian Jones goes, we are almost to August. That's usually when I reach back out to Brian. Brian's had the birth of a new child this year, and he's being a dad. He was already a dad, but now a dad to the baby again. He's going through that. So I'm letting him deal with that. But yes, we are going to try to get Brian on before the season starts. Absolutely. And we'll get some, whether it's training camp stories or whatever. We have had moments where Brian was on the show and he's gotten to go see practice a little bit and tell us what he sees. Hopefully we will get to do that. Here's a couple coming in. This is the recruiting one I like. Trills Max says, can Texas flip Malachi Lee? Trills, apparently there's maybe a chance at that one. It's a weird one for a couple reasons. Being the Hawaii guy, this dude's at a high school. He's literally at like Kamehameha school in Honolulu. And I believe he picked, is it Michigan? It's Michigan or Ohio State that I believe he's committed to. I think it's Michigan. So yeah, I think the thing with this guy, I think he's in that category with Crimpin and some others where it's not like super elite, high 4 and 5 star guaranteed, no doubt about. He's in an area where you can't get him for no money, and you may not want to pay the money. He's on that boundary line, right? Of how good is he? It feels like he's into that money area that you may not want to spend that money, because once you get him, is he playing immediately? That's the discussion we've been having about some of these guys. The message Texas clearly sent on linebacker with Atkinson and running back with Cooper was they're going to play immediately. They're going to impact this team in 2026. Will Malachi Lee? I think most people that would watch this play out would tell you no. That's why they got to wonder about it. But then, to your point, when we get to that time of the year, and they're looking around and see how everything lays out, is offensive line something they want to go get? At that point, I think Lee, Krempin, some other guys probably come back into play. But it's an interesting thought for right now. S. Roan, buy or sell, 8-9 or 9-8 for the Cowboys. You know what, S. Roan? Without even looking at the schedule, I'll buy that. I'll just buy. I have certainly not thought to myself that this is a 10 or 11 or more kind of win team. So, yeah, let's start there. Let's start it right around average, and we'll just see where it goes. There you go. Interesting to hear Dak Prescott talking about what does he want to do? Have fun and win the Super Bowl. Okie doke. We'll see. We will see how that goes. Thank you guys for jumping in. Thank you for that super chat. Did I miss one? No, got that. And got that one as well. Want to make sure also, give you another idea for somewhere you might want to check out this weekend. I'm assuming I think the weather's going to be pretty good. Weather's kind of warm, but nothing will cool you down in warm weather like some Deep Eddy vodka. Get on out there. I'm planning a trip to the tasting room in August. Get yours set up Thursdays through Sundays. That means they're open right now as I'm talking to you in the 12 o'clock hour on a Friday, 11 to 7. Sundays is 12 to 5, and it's a great way to wrap up the week. Get out to Dripping Springs, beautiful hill country views. You want to go outside? They got some outdoor seating. You want to come inside where we normally sit? They got that great little the tap room in there. It used to be where they actually distilled the stuff, and now they've turned it into this great the distillery room and the place where you eat. They got the Crimson Creek Smokehouse barbecue truck out front, and the barbecue's excellent. I've done a tasting out there. That's great. You get 9 different flavors in that tasting now. Go try the pineapple. If you have not, I can't wait to get out there and try those pineapple cocktails that they've been whipping up at the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Thanks to them for their great support, and thanks to all of you. When you head out there, make sure you tell them you heard about it right here on Orange Bloods Live. I do appreciate it. All right, let me scan the little QR code. No, let me scan the chat and find Paul. $4.99. Oh, no, that was the Brian question. We got that one. Yes, Brian Jones. Going to get him on. Brian Jones of CBS. We will be getting him on CBS covering, of course, the Big Ten primarily now more than they did the SEC. It was fun last year. I was wondering how that was going to go, but it was really cool. Get to talk to Brian every week. We hope we're going to do that this football season, where we were getting his thoughts on what was going on in the Big Ten, because we know that if you're a Texas fan, you focus on the SEC, but down the line, stuff like Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oregon could come into play. And obviously Texas plays Ohio State to start the year. So looking forward to talking to Brian very, very, very soon. All right. Some interesting questions coming in here. I agree here. South KMX, we do need another BJ and Unk show. Brian and Anwar together was that was a fun time. I did enjoy that one. All right, let me get into this other discussion this way, because somebody threw in a couple. Brad asked this question. Chad, who's your top 3 wrestlers? Wow, hold on. Top 3 wrestlers. I got Stone Cold, Hulkster, and The Rock. Okay, so Brad, if we're doing, let's make it easy. We're going to just say everything, right? Let's put everything into the category, factor it all in. We won't get too nerdy and just best worker or best promo. Put it all together. You got 2 of them definitely for me. I think Hulk and Stone Cold have to be there. I probably would go I'd take The Rock out of there and put in Flair. Like, that's the adjustment I would make. I love The Rock. Don't get me wrong here. I don't know if the Rock would not be above Ric Flair for me historically. I'm an old guy. That's part of it. So that's what I would do with that discussion. And to this one, this one's easy, S-Rone. Dio or Ozzy Black Sabbath. S-Rone, I'll be honest with you. So Sabbath, I'm not ride or die for Sabbath, but I'd lean Ozzy. I know both those guys more as solo artists. I definitely prefer Ozzy as a solo, and I prefer Ozzy with Sabbath, because his voice to me, I love Dio's voice. Don't misunderstand. Great metal voice. But to me, I'd go with Ozzy and Sabbath. And to that discussion, It has been a wild week. I started thinking about, and see, this is good too, because The Undertaker is the fourth one I think I would throw in there too. Yeah. If it's me, I think I go Stone Cold, Hulk, Flair, Undertaker. I'm a huge Undertaker guy, though. I'm a major mark for The Undertaker. I do think he may need to be like Mount Rushmore discussion guy. Mark, thank you for that. So those three guys dying this week, Malcolm Jamal Warner, then Ozzy, then Hulk Hogan. I started thinking about it. Every time a famous person dies, you, assuming you don't personally know them, you always just think of your connection to them. That's why losing them doesn't hurt us the same way it hurts their family, obviously, but it's part of your life in some way. And then it hit me this week. These three guys are part of my life when I'm a teenager. And before that, when I'm like 10 through 16, that really important critical time of your life where you're trying to figure out who you are and what you love and what do you watch on TV and all that stuff. Those three guys were huge for me. I love the Cosby Show, a legendary show. I religiously watched every Thursday night and loved Theo, loved Malcolm Jamal Warner, thought he was a great comedic actor and, kind of followed him through the years. My wife watches a couple shows that he's been on recently. I love seeing him, and have always hated what the Bill Cosby controversy and the Bill Cosby monstrousness did to that show. It kind of took it out of our brains, and guys like, guys and other actors and actresses like Malcolm Jamal Warner don't get enough credit now for being in that show because we kind of had to wipe that show off the face of the earth for a very obvious, like, sickening reason. But I loved that show, always watched it. Then when it comes to Ozzy, I was 14 the first time I saw Ozzy. 14. And then when the new videos come out, like, Ozzy was just, because I was never afraid to like an older artist. So when I was 14, Ozzy was 40. But my dad had raised me on Beatles, Stones, and The Who. As long as you were edgy and a little dangerous and other parents couldn't stand you, that was my kind of thing. Loved it. Loved that danger because I was just a boring kid. I was boring. I was a decent student. I went to class. I didn't party. I didn't drink early. So I lived vicariously through all these dudes. And I loved Ozzy. I can still see that first concert. I can still hear those songs. He came up through the floor. When that happens at a concert like that, when I was a kid, that was the coolest thing in the world. John Bon Jovi did it. First time I saw it, my second concert ever. And then when Ozzy did it, I can still see it. Like, the stage is all white and smoke's coming up and Ozzy just appears. Like, I think he started with Paranoid that night, and he just appears and the guitar fires up and my whole body just shivered, man. It was incredible. So I'm 14 when that happens. And then when it comes to Hulk, I'm literally in the room with it. There's a TV sitting right up here, 13-inch TV, a Sony Trinitron. I saved up to buy it. First TV I ever bought, so I could have a TV in my room. My parents said, you can't have a TV in your room unless you pay for it. So I did. We strung the cable in. I don't even think there was a cable jack in there. We strung it in there. And one of the things I would watch secretly was pro wrestling because my parents didn't care about it at all. And my brother didn't like it. And I'd get made fun of. And they would, like, if they ever saw me watching, they would tell me to stop it and tell me to turn it off. So I would kind of sneak around and watch. And the first time I ever watched a wrestling match and knew I was watching, like, theatrics and watching entertainment, it was Kevin Von Erich. Kevin Von Erich threw a working punch. I saw it very clearly. And I was like, I don't know, 8. And I realized, oh, okay, so I'm not watching sports, but I'm interested in what I'm watching. So I kept watching. But it was Hulk Hogan and that Hulk Andre thing that really expanded it. Because I remember on the USA show, I could never watch pay-per-views. It was closed circuit. Sometimes you had to go to a movie theater or whatever it was. I never watched any of that stuff live. But they replayed the Hulk Andre match after WrestleMania 3 one night. They said they were going to do it. I made sure to be there, and they showed it on USA, and my brain just expanded in a whole different way on that little 13-inch TV, man. And Hulk Hogan was just huge. Just huge. And there's all kinds of different, references here. Here's another one. Brad brings it up. I'm glad he did. Ozzy on his family's reality show was gold. Brad, it's a great point. Both he and Hulk have this in common. They transcended in different ways. Hulk with acting first, of course, with the Rocky movie, but then later he had a reality show. But I'll argue no famous person, none of them, no famous person who's had a successful reality show needs to forget what Ozzy did for them, because it was the Osbournes that took it to a different channel, a different place. Reality up to that point was real world. We'll take nobodies and we'll make them famous. Ozzy flipped it. They thought, wait a second, what if we showed you famous people doing normal stuff? Would people watch that? And the Osbournes proved that they would. And then it went crazy. I believe, y'all double check me here, I think the Osbournes predates the Kardashians. I don't think we would have been keeping, and maybe that's what we blame Ozzy for. Anyway, I don't think we would have been keeping up with the Kardashians if it wasn't for Ozzy. That show, early 2000s, I think, is one of those things. And it's also why a whole nother wave of people knows Ozzy. Just like a whole nother wave of kids learned who Hulk Hogan was that didn't watch him against Andre or the Ultimate Warrior or Randy Savage. They watched him and Linda argue in a kitchen. They watched him and Nick go to, the batting cages. They watched him and Brooke try to get her career started or whatever. It was just a very different world. And those two guys have everything. Everything. Yeah. And this was it. Jack's right. Everyone started doing family reality shows after the Osbournes. They showed you what that was. For some reason, hey, do you want to watch Ozzy take out the trash? For some reason, the answer was yes. We did. We wanted to watch Ozzy. Remember with the remote control, Sharon? Like that became a thing. He and Kelly going back and forth about whatever it was, the basic stuff, about milk or whatever. It became entertaining to us somehow. I don't know how. Back to the wrestling discussion real quick. In-ring technical wrestlers: Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels. That's a good list too. Yeah. Jack, leaving Shawn Michaels off a list is tough for me. I'd have to rethink about, do I put him on the Mount Rushmore too? But yes, in-ring, entertain me. Those four guys are incredible. Give me a combo of any of them. In fact, you can give me those first two guys are one of my favorite matches ever. The I Quit. The last two guys, one of my favorite matches ever. I'm Sorry, I Love You. And I'm saying, did Rick and Bret ever have a great match? I don't remember those two ever having a great match. Obviously, then Bret and Shawn have one of the greatest matches for me. WrestleMania 12 and all that stuff. Anytime they got together, it was magic too. So yeah, love those four guys. Good call, Jack. Nice work. All right. Bubbles. Oh, come on, Sharon. I'm Ozzy Osbourne, the movie Prince of Darkness. Yeah, exactly. Bubbles, Sharon. Bubbles. Yeah, man. It was just, how did you know? How did you know it was going to work that way? Just incredible. Rest in peace to all three of those guys. Obviously dying in very different circumstances. Just the tragic quality of the Malcolm Jamal Warner thing is never going to leave me. His daughter is either 7 or 8. I don't know exactly when her birthday is. It crushes me when I think about it. And for Ozzy and Hulk, when you're legends of that quality and when you're legends, like, you just aren't supposed to die. That's sort of the way we think about those people. And now that they're gone, what's left behind is obviously their incredible legacies. And with Ozzy, it's even more magical to me because music to me is the most magical thing we kind of have to remember people by. But with Hulk, you can't tell the story. They always say that about Hall of Fames. Can you tell the story without that person? You cannot. you can't even start to tell the story of pro wrestling without talking about Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace to all of them. All right. I think that's about it. I think we're good. Went about an hour today, solo. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, starting with the Arch Manning discussion, please go to orangebloods.com. Get that QR code up there. Make this your week where you go, you know what? They keep talking about this damn war room. What is it? Trust me. Jump in on this one because you got the Arch Manning stuff at the top. Ketch has got some other great notes. Anwar's got some awesome notes on the team to kind of get you primed and pumped and ready for the season. Gives you a sense of who's doing well, who's looking good. Great Colin Simmons comment in there. Defensive guys, who's standing out. Just little things like that as we're getting closer to the season. Then Alex throws in with that high school with that high school stuff I talked about. Cody's got good content. Jalen throws in some basketball stuff for you. It's a great war room. So go check that out at orangebloods.com if you haven't gotten signed up. Please do. It helps this whole thing roll on, and we do appreciate you for that. Also, we appreciate you for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications for the YouTube channel. Holy hell. The subscriber number is over 48,000. So please join that group if you haven't. We thank you for doing it. It seems like a little thing, but it does help. Remember, it's all free. When I say like, subscribe, get your notifications, that's all free. And it really does help out. So like the show on the way out. If you didn't like it on the way in, that's of course assuming you liked it. And then become a subscriber. If you know somebody that's not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, tell them it's free. Tell them all about it. And yes, you know what, Jack? Good fact on the way out. Steve Austin did play football for North Texas. Damn right. Played for the Mean Green. Probably the Mean Green Eagles back then, right? Is that technically what they're just the Mean Green now, maybe? Yeah, he did look weird in a football uniform. And weird with hair. Once you become that iconic bald, anytime I see you with hair, it is weird. Uncle Mickey, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And hope everything's going well north of the border. Hope it's not 95 up where you are in Canada. That would absolutely suck. All right. Thank you guys for checking it out. Cross your fingers that the executive order and Congress gets things figured out in college sports so, you know, we can keep this thing rolling. Get to orangebloods.com, as I mentioned. Also, check out all the good content. Football with Friends comes up. Be sure to check out the video and shorts section of the YouTube page as well. Y'all have a great weekend. We will be back on Monday. Until then, take care of yourself.